Four Bronx Arts Ensemble approached me to do a concert of Negro spirituals. I had never spent a lot of time playing them on solo bassoon, and for that, I am truly sorry. I have had the time of my life listening to all of this music and picking pieces that I think would sound good on solo bassoon. Obviously, I am a classically trained bassoonist. I'm not a jazz musician, I'm not a jazz singer, not a gospel singer, and I struggled with how to treat the music, and then I decided I'm a classical musician, I'm going to give it the classical music treatment. I chose pieces that I thought were just a really beautiful melody, and some of the lyrics that go along with them are really affecting, and I would encourage you to look up the lyrics to all of the works that I chose. I did. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child down by the riverside, down to the river to pray, a lot of river theme music. chosen to perform works that have simple melodies. There are so many good works, like call and response of field hollers, that it just wouldn't this just like wouldn't work on bassoon. And I tried to choose uplifting ones, but I think that you will come to find, or I came to find, that there are not that many like truly uplifting spirituals, because as you can imagine, if you were an enslaved person, not knowing if you are ever going to be free, which is the topic of a lot of the spirituals. I mean, the music is beautiful. I'm sorry to say it is like inspired by really horrible, like human atrocity. Like just the idea that you could kidnap a bunch of people and just sell them is despicable. If you think about it, it's despicable. This music is so beautiful that could come out of something that's so horrible is really sobering. It's truly an honor to put this concert together.
The Negro Speaks of Rivers by Langston Hughes. I've known rivers. I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo and it lulled me to sleep. I looked upon the Nile and raised the pyramids above it. I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I've known rivers, ancient, dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like the rivers.
As far as I'm concerned, every month is Black History Month. As a theater educator, a goal of mine is to break free of the theater education structure that's been rooted in white supremacy, the education structure that strips all of the things that are special about the Black person, the Black boy, the Black girl, the Black woman and man, and everything in between, and says, actually, this is the way that you say this. This is the way that you are supposed to move. This is the way that you do this, when all of it is rooted in white supremacy and patriarchy and all of these ideas of the right way, the white way that people are supposed to behave. My specialty is acting. I'm always impressing on my students that they need to start from a true sense of self. Even when we read these pieces that are so important to us historically in theater history, right? Like, I'm working with students right now on A Raisin in the Sun, and it's really important that we know, what year is it? You know, what limitations do these characters have? Okay, so they're in the midst of segregation. What is fueling all of these characters about the fact that their dream is deferred? A Raisin in the Sun is a line from Langston Hughes's Harlem. And we study that piece of poetry and we say, why did Lorraine Hansberry decide that she wanted to use a line from this poem as the title of her play? Then we research the Harlem Renaissance, and there's just so much that goes into teaching about Black history through an art form. But more than anything, I think that I utilize Black history because we've come so far, so far in so many ways. But I don't think that there's a Black person alive that doesn't hear Walter Lee Younger's words in A Raisin in the Sun and doesn't think, oh man, like, I felt like that. I felt like my dream's been deferred because of reasons beyond my control. Maybe because of the color of my skin, maybe because I'm a woman, maybe because of my being differently abled, lots of different things. I would say that my utilizing Black history is to really give my students a sense of self and belonging. Because when you see yourself in history, when you really see yourself, people who look like you, people who have been through a similar experience as you, it's powerful. It really, really is. Black culture is special and it's important, and it's not knockoff white culture. It's its own very, very unique thing. And when you can teach your students, especially your Black students, about that, it makes them open up. It makes them feel like they belong. I mean, that's ultimately, I think, all of our goals when we're instructing the arts, because we know that all of our students aren't going to want to go on and do this forever. Not everyone wants to end up being an actor or a director or a stage manager, but what are they going to gain from learning with you that they can take with them for the rest of their lives, the same way they can take, they can take 2 + 2 is 4 with them for the rest of their lives. Black History Month is every month in my classroom.
The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, the sea we must wade, we've braved the belly of the beast, we've learned that quiet isn't always peace. And the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet, the dawn is ours. Before we knew it, somehow, we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean that we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge a union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so, we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true, that even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. The hill we climb, if only we dare. It's because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith we trust. For while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light. If only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
my name is Kika Wright, and I am the double reed teaching artist for Bronx Arts Ensemble. The way that I incorporate Black history into my classroom teaching is through two ways. One is to teach music by Black composers and artists, and the other is to teach my students to respect all different types of music. So there's a lot of music by Black composers, and it just takes a little bit of digging to find it. You can just Google Black composers and you'll come up with a lot of different music. And then you want to teach theory, or you want to teach rhythm, or you want to teach harmony, or you want to teach expression, take a melody and teach them. And that's what I do. And it's a little bit more work than just getting like the Weisenborn or a Barrett oboe method book and slapping it down in front of them, but it's absolutely worth it. The second way is by teaching respect for all different types of Black music. Rap music is very culturally important, and it is an extraordinary way of people to express themselves, for Black Americans to express themselves. And I make it a point to make sure I never say classical music is more important, more valid, more relevant than rap music, hip hop, R&B, gospel, etc. So I think that by instilling in my students that no music is more important than the other, I think that they're able to find inspiration through more types of music. Because if I was just telling them rap is not good, classical music is good, they're going to go home and they're going to think that. And we want people to get more out of music, not less.
Hey y'all, I'm Ashley Hart Adams, and I want to show you guys a little bit of the behind the scenes of my poetry recordings for this performance. The two pieces that I am recording for this performance are The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman and The Negro Speaks of Rivers by Langston Hughes. So since we are in the midst of quarantine, this is where all of the magic happens. This is my at-home desk, which I am so thankful for throughout this whole thing. And yeah, I have this mic set up, a headset, I have my iPad here so that I can read off the text, and this is where I work. Test, test, test. All right, let's give it a shot. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light. If only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it.